Hey guys, it's John. You're on the JRB Tree Climbing channel. This video is about several topics. It's about DSRT, it's about the Longhorn Agile Hitch, and it's about canopy anchors. And it was a really interesting discovery, and it's important for you to understand this development because it has the potential to allow you to reduce the amount of rope that you carry in your JRB universal systems. I'm giving you a lot of terms, and you're going to need to familiarize yourself with them if you are not already. Refer to my website, jrbtreeclimbing.com, and you can catch up. But DSRT, or doubled stationary rope technique, is my preferred way to get into a tree. A universal climbing system is a system that I can use DSRT for the majority use case, but in special situations where I need to use SRT, I can convert the system over and use SRT, and I can also execute hitch climbing and stick climbing with the use of the Maverick pole. But what this video is about is when you're short on rope, when you rig for DSRT and your ropes aren't reaching the ground. The crotch is a little too high and the ropes are somewhere at this height. We can easily rig for SRT, and here's how. And I'm going to show you in a minute with the climb. I am self-filming, but here is the Longhorn Agile Hitch that's on the end of my line. It just went over the tree crotch and I'm out of rope on the other side. I can simply put the rope between the Longhorn Agile and put a carabiner here, and this becomes a canopy anchor. I have been testing this extensively this fall. The only thing I would recommend when we rig it this way is take the precaution of putting a stopper knot here, and you could put a double overhand. I think an overhand suffices just to make sure that we're good. This becomes a canopy anchor, and our retrieval line goes right here. See what I've done there? The Longhorn Agile is straddling the rope. Okay, I'm editing this in just to make sure you can see it. This is the Longhorn Agile, just went over the tree crotch. This is the other side of the rope. I put the rope between the loops, and here's my retrieval line. My retrieval line has already got a carabiner on the end of it. And so I can just use that. That's where I need my retrieval line anyway. I put that right there. I just like to take the extra precaution of putting a secure
stopper knot.
Yeah, I probably could use a double overhand, especially here where I've got room to do so, or stevedore or your favorite stopper knot. But in that situation where I don't have even an inch to work with, I'm fine with a single overhand knot. And then I run this up into the tree. And retrieval is really quite effortless. The only friction you're getting is the friction of the tree crotch itself. Okay, so that's it. Let's watch it one more time. There's my Longhorn Agile, half of a DSRT system. Put it near the end, put a stopper knot on, let it straddle the other rope, and that's how it locks in. And you know from working with the Longhorn Agile Hitch, you know that this is the manner in which it auto-tends. If we try to bend it backwards, that doesn't auto-tend. We always let these loops go in their natural direction forward, right? And that's where we engage the line and put our locking carabiner. Behind me in the tree, I've got this exact situation. So I'm going to rig unaware that I don't have enough rope. Here's the end of my universal system. There's the Longhorn Agile working towards the center of the rope. I have my JRB end loop, but I don't really need it. I'm gonna put my rigging carabiner right here where my thumb is, and I'm going to rig this into the tree. This system is 60 feet of rope. Okay, so if you do the math, if this crotch was 30 feet high, those ends of the rope would just touch the ground. But it took me a little while to find a tree like this. I should be turkey hunting right now. That's where my cameraman is. Look what I've got. I can just barely touch the ends of my rope. This crotch must be, if I'm, almost about 6 feet tall and I'm reaching 7, well, this crotch is about 37 feet off the ground. What am I going to do? Okay, so here are the ends of my line. This just went over the crotch. The one on my left hand and the one on my right is the other side of my universal system. I've got the other friction hitch working towards the center that I was planning on climbing on. And this is my unused friction hitch going the other direction. But as long as I can reach this point, I could just barely reach it here, and I can get this Longhorn Agile to straddle the line. I can put a carabiner here, and look, I happen to have one handy. There's one just waiting for me to use. And so I'll do that, and all I need to do now is, for safety purposes, is get a stopper knot on here. And then I'll grab my retrieval line. Now, sure, I don't have to have my retrieval line on there, but I want to have it on there just in case. I always like to bring back, I never like to send up an anchor into no man's land. If something goes wrong in the rigging and I wanted to make sure I can get it back, and now I'm going to send that up. Okay, so you're going to see this rigging come into focus. I'm pulling with my right hand, and there goes my canopy anchor headed on up to that crotch. Okay, so I'm down here at the ground. I've got a little bit of sliding to do, right? I'm going to use the other side of my DSRT system. I'm moving it into place. You can't see that. I'm popping my bridge on, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so what's my point here? I'm trying to make sure you understand that there are some options, and I did run into this scenario last year. It was on this very 60 foot of rope, and I wasn't too happy with myself, and I wasn't aware of this possibility. So if you're comfortable executing SRT, you're comfortable breaking your hitches, this is a way to reduce the size of your system by, let's just say, about 12 feet. So if you figure the highest crotch you'd like to be able to climb on is one that's 40 feet up, and you think you need 80 feet of rope, well, you can probably drop that down to about 68 feet of rope and still climb that crotch. It's just in that last bit, you are transitioning over to SRT. And so this is kind of changing my recommendation. Don't get me wrong, I still always carry 80 feet of rope, but if you're extremely bulk conscious and rope conscious, you can basically go with a formula that is, maximum crotch height minus about 12 feet if your average height, and you could still get yourself into that tree. I'm going to get on down, and then I'm going to retrieve this by pulling on this line. Okay, I've got a super muncher in, and I'm going to break my Longhorn Agile with one hand and head on down. And you can watch the retrieval. As always, get this Longhorn Agile nice and loose, so we're just tending it with a couple of fingers on the way down. course, nothing got any shorter and nothing got any longer. Everything's right here where I started. Now, if I wanted to put a paracord preset in this tree, now would be the time to do so. I would attach it right here and rig it up there. I'm not going to bother, but you should be aware that there are scenarios where if you pull something like this with bulk on the end of your line, like a friction hitch, there's always a chance it might get caught in the tree. So you never want to just retrieve your rope like this. Always put your throw ball or a paracord preset back on it if you need to. But I'm looking up at this tree and I'm giving it really low chances of getting lost, and so I'm just going to retrieve it. Okay, so don't knock yourself in the head when this thing falls. All right, so you get the idea. We can basically vary the size of our system. So one of the most popular questions I get is, John, how much rope do I need? Well, look on the rope page of my system, of my website. Look on the rope page at jrbtreeclimbing.com, and I do give you some rope length recommendations, but you've got to get a feel for how high. It's not how high you're going to climb. It's about the trees in your forest. It's about what your forest is like and how high you're comfortable executing a throw ball. Again, I wouldn't use DSRT if I didn't find it to be advantageous. It's just clip and climb. I don't need to tie any knots. And what this does is it allows me to transform into SRT, again, without tying any knots. It didn't need to tie a Maverick. All I had to do was put a carabiner, and that Longhorn Agile is doing its job. If you have any concerns about the strength of those cords, well, do the math. Do the math. That basket of 2 loops of, in this case, Sterling TRC, is extremely strong. We trust it with our life because I'm climbing on it on the other side. And in a Canopy anchor, it's actually absorbing even less load than the one that's carrying our body. So, again, I did a lot of testing before showing this to you, and I wanted you to be aware of it as another tool in your toolbox. All right, guys, thank you very much.